I thought by retiring Daredevil that I could start clean, live my life as Matt Murdock, but I was running from the truth, from justice. Today on the Comic Book Report, Daredevil by Chip Zdarsky, oversized hardcover, Volume 3. Stick around and check it out. Greetings all, my name is Dominic and you're tuning in to the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. And today I am elated to finally be reviewing the oversized hardcover Volume 3 for Chip Zdarsky's incredible Daredevil run. Daredevil has been a long-time favorite of mine, and I have really enjoyed everything Zdarsky has been writing about him so far. Waiting for these collected editions has always been a bit of a chore, especially when the run is this good. So let's dive into today's review. First, some quick facts about today's collection. The issues in this volume were written by Chip Zdarsky and penciled primarily by Marco Caccetto and Mike Hawthorne. The issues in this volume were first published by Marvel Comics beginning in 2020. The volume itself collects Daredevil issues 21 through 30, as well as Daredevil Annual number 1. And finally, this oversized hardcover comes in at 264 pages. At this time, I'd like to issue a brief spoiler warning. I will be flipping through the contents of today's collection, as well as commenting on plot points throughout. You've been advised. Okay, and here's our first look at that oversized hardcover edition. Love the cover with female Daredevil, Matt Murdock Daredevil, and then Kingpin, Typhoid Mary. Just a great cover, great collection of characters on the front there. Also a reproduction of one of the covers for one of the issues in this collection. Always a nice touch. The spine is matching with the other editions in this collection, with the changes, obviously, of the volume number and the little picture included, but it looks really great on a bookcase. And there we have the female Daredevil on the back, who is Elektra. I know this has been news for a while, but still a very nice touch and a feature I really enjoyed within this collection, but more on that later. And as we transition in a moment to take a quick look at the binding, I just want to say as well, if you're researching this online, some sources say this includes through issue 32. That is incorrect. This includes, as I mentioned earlier, issues 21 through 30, along with the Daredevil Annual number 1. You see the quick sewn binding there, a little bit of gutter loss, but not too bad. Very comparable to the other editions in this collection. And now I want to give you all a quick just look again at that dust jacket. I'll go ahead and open it for you to take a look there. Before we transition to take a quicker look at the Under the Dust Jacket art. The Under the Dust Jacket art, of course, comes from the King in Black crossover event, of which I think there are 2 issues in here that tie into that event. They do kind of break up the narrative of the main story a little bit, but they're really not bad, and they're still very focused on the characters of both Daredevil and then Elektra Daredevil, and so I never felt too unplugged from everything going on. But if you've never read King in Black or don't know what it's about, it could be a bit jarring when you read those 2 issues. Okay, and without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the collection proper. Of course, we have the red kind of bookend pages. Could you expect anything else from Daredevil? It just wouldn't be right. As far as this book, like I said, it's oversized, hardcover with nice glossy print pages, very comparable to the other 2 previous volumes in this line. While I don't think that these pages are necessarily, insanely thick, they're pretty comparable to what we've been seeing in the oversized hardcovers and the omnibus editions. So maybe a couple instances of bleed through, but I actually didn't find it to be too bad in this collection. Overall, really well put together, and I love just how well everything matches, like I said, with the other volumes. I know there are many people out there hoping that this gets the omnibus treatment. I'm still really hopeful that that's going to happen eventually, but in the meantime, I just can't wait. I have to read this Zdarsky run, and these formats are really beautiful and fairly cost-effective, especially when these only come out every 6 to 8 months. And frankly, this was a very eagerly anticipated volume. I know it got pushed back at one point, so I was absolutely ecstatic to read it this week, and I knew I had to give it a review. I don't believe I've reviewed volumes 1 or 2 in this line yet, but if you're interested in that, let me know in the comments below, and I might have to go back and give some reviews on some of those earlier editions. As far as the storyline in Volume 3 goes, it picks up directly after, you guessed it, Volume 2, which included the War for Hell's Kitchen. There was a bunch of Daredevil villains, along with gangsters and the mob, all attacking, and Daredevil suits up to try to save the day. Once the dust kind of settles, though, we have Daredevil there, and he turns himself in for the murder of someone we saw in the early volume of this Zdarsky run. Turns himself in to be prosecuted for murder or manslaughter or something like that. He justifies that he can't run away as Daredevil or even masquerade as just Matt Murdock. He feels he has to serve his time and face the justice that's warranted what he has done, regardless of if it was intentional. Being a vigilante and working in many ways outside of the law, he knows he still has to be accountable to some form of justice and can't just run around and have people killed. And so he wants to face his time. He loops in Foggy Nelson, who actually loops in Kirsten McDuffie from the Mark Waid run. That was a character favorite of a lot of people, including myself. It is one of the absolute best love interests Matt Murdock's ever had. So shocked to see her show up. Very excited to see that. But they wrangle that legal team in along with Mike Murdock, who is back. I think Volume 2 introduced that. It's his fake twin brother who, through like some kind of magic, is actually a real person right now and is masquerading as Matt while Daredevil's on trial. And it's a pretty fun little subplot. With Matt's court date looming, one of the things he tries to do as Daredevil is ensure that Hell's Kitchen's future is secured in case he has to be put away for a while. With the Kingpin still serving as mayor during this point in the run, he knows that public safety is still a concern, so he tries to make allowances for that, at least for his neighborhood in Hell's Kitchen. He tries to convince Iron Man to buy out a lot of the real estate that these corrupted billionaires are trying to buy and give it out for free or low-income housing to people. He tries to convince different heroes to kind of look out and stuff like that. He's had a very tense relationship with Spider-Man throughout this run, where Spider-Man's kind of confronted him on essentially murdering someone and going off the rails and kind of keeping him accountable. But in this volume, we see their friendship kind of get restored. He has some really great moments with Spider-Man where he is used as an intimidation tactic to make bad guys kind of back off. And they also have a heart-to-heart where Spider-Man actually shares of a time he accidentally murdered someone with Wolverine, which that story is a trip. Let me know if you want to hear a review on that story at a later point as well. But little moves like this, Elektra's kind of in the picture saying that the Hand has some ongoing war that's still looming and that he has to play a part in it, but he really doesn't have that in mind at all. He wants to make sure Hell's Kitchen is safe and he has to deal with his own. Basically, things fall through with Tony Stark, Iron Man, and just as it looks someone else is going to buy the buildings and kind of corrupt the city, we find out that Elektra has actually bought it and that she's going to help keep the kitchen safe while Matt goes to trial and is found guilty and sentenced to at least 2 years in jail. While imprisoned, Elektra's trying to show Matt that she can be trusted in the hopes that he'll serve during their crazy war with Stick against the Hand, and so she takes on the mantle of Daredevil herself, the woman without fear, and is keeping Hell's Kitchen safe. She's also a property owner of a large portion of Hell's Kitchen at this point. Simultaneously, Matt Murdock is in jail, but as Daredevil. He gets into a lot of situations, including some prison fights. A lot of people want him dead, of course. He's poisoned. All sorts of things are happening to him in jail, including when the King in Black event occurs and we have symbiote incursion all throughout New York City. Elektra's fighting things on her end with a symbiote venomized Typhoid Mary, and then Daredevil's fighting it in the jail where he actually gets consumed by a symbiote and has to kind of fight it for control. It's a pretty metal issue or two, and like I said earlier, it does kind of take you out of the central narrative of this story, but not too badly, as both issues each focus primarily on those two main characters. So even though the larger King in Black event is occurring, you still feel like you're grounded in the Daredevil world. It just might be confusing for those that don't have any idea what King in Black is or don't plan to read it, but you can kind of still enjoy those stories and then you plug right back into the ongoing narrative after that point. Ultimately, this whole edition kind of culminates with the return of the Hand as well as Bullseye. And so it's kind of a cliffhanger like the previous editions, but it's a good like next chapter stopping moment, and altogether a really satisfying volume. There's so many other twists and turns and details that occur throughout the book, but as far as a bird's eye overview and synopsis of this book, I think I hit all the major beats. Like I said, this takes place within that Chip Zdarsky run, and it has been pretty powerful to watch. And I think that this volume in particular is a culmination of a lot of what he's done in the past, where he accidentally kills a guy. We see the kind of culmination of that with him serving time in jail, and we get to see Elektra rise as a new kind of Daredevil. I find this to be really fascinating, and overall, as a longtime Daredevil fan, I've highly enjoyed this run, and absolutely this volume included. As far as the art goes, Daredevil has a long, great history of fantastic artists across their runs, but this one is probably one of my favorites. Returning from the previous volumes, the art here is absolutely strong and consistent. The character models are so well defined. There's a kind of realism to a lot of the artwork here. I love what they do with the coloring throughout a lot of this as well, just some of the night scenes and different things like that. Overall, there's just an absolutely cinematic quality to the paneling and the just storytelling they do through the art in this volume. I don't know, it feels so rich and detailed. The world feels very lived in. The characters just feel so real and so distinctive, each one of them. And I just love it. You know, I was a really big fan during the Brian Michael Bendis run on Daredevil of Alex Malieve's work, but that was a lot more gritty, scratchy, sketchy style, which felt very, very at place with the kind of gritty crime noir it was telling. Then we had Mark Waid's run, and the art on that run was absolutely fantastic. Almost a throwback to earlier eras, very simple colors, very just kind of basic sort of designs, but gorgeous, absolutely stunning, vibrant, punch out of the page kind of artwork. And this art here is absolutely different from either of those runs, but it just fits the storytelling. I don't even know how to describe it, but I'm left in awe often reading this Daredevil run. The art is just absolutely superb. As far as criticisms of this volume go, I don't have many. Like I said, I liked the King in Black tie-in issues, but it does throw off the sense of momentum. I think if I had any major complaint, it was just, I wish this was longer. I wish it was an omnibus length or an ultimate collection length that had 20 or 30 issues, or 40 to 50 in the case of an omnibus, rather than the 10 to 12 we've been getting. But it's a very readable format, and even with the shorter page count compared to an omnibus, it's still a really great addition, a really great full story in here, and I'm just really enjoying the ride. I cannot wait for Volume 4. I, for one, will be first in line for that. As you've been seeing as well, we also end the collection with a great cover art gallery along with some bonus features like sketches and penciled work. I love seeing the behind the scenes detail. I love seeing more different covers and variant covers. It just adds such a richness to an already fantastic volume. And now real quick, I'll just show the Volume 3 along with Volumes 1 and 2 that have already been released for this run. They look great all together. Like I said, if you want to get reviews on either of these other ones, let me know in the comments below. Now let's go ahead and give this collection a grade. With its incredibly detailed art throughout, along with a strong narrative focus that develops some of my favorite Daredevil cast characters, The Comic Book Report is happy to give Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil oversized hardcover Volume 3 an A-. This was a wonderful direction for the series. I love seeing Elektra step up into the mantle of Daredevil herself, while Matt Murdock still retains it in prison trying to serve his penance. The King in Black issues were a lot more fun than I expected, and overall there were just so many memorable moments throughout this collection. This is one to not forget about, and I can't wait to read more. A must read for all Daredevil fans out there. Here comes Daredevil. Thank you for watching The Comic Book Report. Don't forget to give this video a like and share a comment of what you thought. Here are some other videos for you to check out. Have a good one.